And Scottish Football Extra back on a Friday, just the way it should be. Ali McCloyston, Chris Sutton here as well. And thank you to everyone who's been watching at home so far. Keep backing us throughout the season. We'll be with you every Friday of the league season anyway. Guys, good to see you again. The mug back, I assume, and that's no slight to either of you.
Sadly,
it is.
Sadly, it's a different gentleman. Sorry to disappoint you. It's a different venue, different location I'm filming from this morning. So it's a different mug, but at least the colours are the same.
Good. And by the way, last week we pulled you up because you were obviously having a bit of a Gogglebox edition using this platform, to take your career on again, Ali. This week I've seen in the newspapers that you're among the favourites to be on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. 10-1. Is that a good bet, Ali? What can you tell us?
I'm not so sure. I think the biggest plus might be that it's not over in Australia this year. That might be a big plus. No, I can't reveal anything at these early stages in proceedings. But I've got to tell you, it is a programme we watch as a family. We sit down and watch that particular programme as a family and find it highly entertaining.
That's a yes.
That's a yes,
isn't it?
Such, my luck. I'd end up getting on it this year, and because it's not an Australian jungle, I'd end up putting weight on. That'd be my luck, wouldn't it?
Right. Right. On that note, we'll get to the football in just a moment. But first, a look back on the week in 60 seconds with journalist Stephen McGowan.
This week's Scottish football bore all the hallmarks of a Bollywood drama. The Aberdeen 8 filmed their very own sequel to The Magnificent Seven, but the song and dance around the Pittodrie Soul Band didn't last long. Every movie needs two things: a plot twist and an unexpected baddie to take centre stage. Until this week, Bolly Golly was a jobbing actor looking for a part to play. A role as Celtic's pantomime villain probably wasn't quite what he had in mind, but the second that Belton broke the rules by boarding that flight to Spain in the midst of a world pandemic, any hope he had of displacing Bonzo and Edouard, the Celtic's romantic lead, pretty much disappeared. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon threatened to shout cut on the Scottish season, but settled for sending Celtic and Aberdeen to the naughty step for now. Rangers took full advantage. Borna Barisic showed how a left back should steal the headlines with a classy free kick and a 3-0 win over St Johnstone. Suddenly, Celtic's quest for a 10th straight Oscar feels a whole lot harder. Where this movie ends is anyone's guess.
Well, there you go, guys. Another quiet week in Scottish football. We have to start on volleyball and goalie and his trip to Spain. I don't know if you guys saw the picture of him. Row 1 designer suitcase, the loudest shorts you've probably ever seen in your life. He was wearing. I mean, is that low profile these days, Ali, for a footballer?
Listen, never mind low profile shots. I've got to tell you, back in our day when we were playing, don't get me wrong, if we won the league in maybe March and maybe get into the first week in April, Walter used to let us away for a wee couple of days here and there. But a week into the season's just taking the mickey a little bit. I've got to be quite honest with you. But how stupid could anybody be at this current time?
Bolingoli's an idiot. He certainly wouldn't, back in my day, I've got back in the dressing room there, he wouldn't be wanted. He's a guy who has to leave the club now. It's shameful what he did. He let the whole club down, the players in the dressing room, no thought for them or his manager or the support, just all about himself. He's had his head up his backside, and he needs to go as soon as possible, and he won't be missed.
I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. What possesses him? What possessed him to think that it would be okay to go to a country that that he's going to have to quarantine? I don't know what's going through the man's head. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, if it had been a private or personal issue, sometimes you can maybe think, okay, he's wrong, but I can see what he did there. But I just don't see, I cannot see any rhyme or reason. And I've got to say to you, with the other incident with Griffiths kind of having the party, which, kind of Lenny, I wouldn't say glossed over, but clearly wasn't happy, but it went away. To be faced with this, I mean, Neil Lennon must be sitting, scratching his head, saying, what is going on with some of these players?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's hear what Neil Lennon has had to say on volleyball and goalie.
The club have been at the forefront of, maintaining good practice, the protocols all in place, trying to get the game up and running. And we have been bitterly and sorely let down by the selfish actions of one individual, because we made it in no uncertain terms that no one could travel, certainly not leave the country anyway, and he has blatantly disregarded my instructions, my medical team's instructions, the club's instructions, and put everything in jeopardy. And never opened his mouth, never told a soul. Seemingly, the players, to be fair, seemed to not know anything about it either, and I've got to take their word for it. But the actions of the individual are just baffling.
I mean, Chris, strong words from the manager, but what else could you possibly expect at the moment?
Yeah, and Ali's right. Lee Griffiths and Bolly Goalie have let him down. I mean, it's been a bit of a free for all for Celtic this early start to the season, and indiscipline from players. And Neil Lennon needs to get a strong grip on this.
I tell you who I've got sympathy for, Chris, more than anything, is actually the opposition that these teams were meant to be playing. Of course, I feel sorry for, I've sympathy for Derek and Neil as managers, because they must be scratching their heads saying what on earth do I have to do here to explain what's just how important this is. But at the same time, my greater sympathy clearly lies with the managers and players and staff of the opposition who are suffering now through absolutely no reason of their own.
Was there an alternative though, Ali? Was it the right thing to stop Celtic and Aberdeen playing? Was there another option, or was it from Nicola Sturgeon? Was it just cosmetic? It was a wrist slap, wasn't it?
Not having all the relevant information in front of us, is very, very difficult to say what the correct decision was, Chris. I think, like anything else, with everything surrounding COVID-19, we have to be led by the authorities, whether it be, dare I say it, the madness that is the SPFL, or indeed the Scottish Government. We have to be led by them. I think also, guys, there's an element of the virus can lay dormant for a period as well. So I would imagine that they'll be taking that into account as well. I hear what you're saying, Chris, and we all want to see the football played, but I don't think there's any way at all they would take any chances at all. The only thing is, again, is that SPFL come out and said they've all punished players for future misdemeanours. I think they have to be stronger than that. I think they have to punish clubs. I really do. So I'm sitting here saying to myself, so it's okay for a club to be punished, for the behaviour potentially of some of their fans, but it's a flip side of the coin. You're not going to be punished for some of the behaviour of your players. I mean, to me, that's just mental. It's crazy.
Just to be clear, Ali, what you're saying is you'd have an automatic points deduction for Celtic.
No, yes. I missed this. I have so missed this. And by the way, Darryl, I expect that for the man below you in my screen, not the one. Okay.
The question I did have to ask you, which is the rumour doing the rounds, was that is Nicola Sturgeon a Rangers fan?
I have to tell you, Chris. Now, as you know, I ain't Poirot, but I would hazard a guess at no. Exactly. I'll get the old Sherlock Holmes hat on. I don't think so.
Right. I tell you though, one other thing in all of this, right, whether you're Poirot or not, is that all of the clubs outside of the Premiership have been told to pause any training that started. Among them, Hearts, who are doing seemingly everything right, testing and checking, and yet now all of a sudden they brought their coaches off furlough, they've got new players coming in, and they can't train anymore. Chris, is that correct? Is that the right decision?
I'm a bit baffled with this one, because if Hearts are following all the right procedures and protocols, then why have they been stopped? It doesn't make any sense to me. Do you know what? With this whole situation and what's happened in the last week, they're making the rules up now. Had there been stronger parameters at the start, and they were set out and clubs and players actually knew, because everything's been extremely confusing with this, COVID. Across the whole country, people are confused. But had there been rules set out and punishment set out, players wouldn't be doing the wrong thing, which they have been. Absolutely not. At least talked about points deductions if there were heavy fines as well. Then I'm sure even Bolingoli, the idiot he was, wouldn't have flown off to Spain.
I've got to remember.
Right.
I can't quite remember talking about points deductions. However, what I will say, I think Hearts have been extremely poor. Not for the first time. I mean, they must be sitting there thinking that it's taken them a little while, but the lunatics have well and truly taken over the asylum in the SPFL. How the fact that they have done everything right, and allowing their players back. I think they've taken them off furlough and they're back training, preparing for a massive season for them, and now they've had the rug from pulled under their feet. If I was a Hearts supporter or a Hearts member of staff, I would rightly, I think, be very, very upset.
It's time for our weekly round of Sutton v McCoist. It's a Champions League theme because, as you know, a big game after this show tonight, which is Bayern Munich against Barcelona in the Champions League on BT Sport, as is the Europa League, the next few nights. So, we wanted to ask a question about Bayern Munich. The last time they won the competition was in 2013. You might remember it was an all-German final at Wembley against Borussia Dortmund. Our question for you guys is, can you name anyone that appeared for Bayern Munich that night? Anyone who played for them that night?
For Bayern Munich in 2013.
Pretty famous team. A lot of big names in that team. Ali, would you like to start?
Aaron Robben.
That's hard, that.
Correct.
What about... So this is just Bayern Munich. What about Thomas Muller?
Correct.
Neuer.
Yep.
There's Neuer in goal. Who would have been a centre? I'll be struggling here. Lewandowski wouldn't have been...
Is that a question or an answer, Chris?
That's an answer. Yeah, no, I'm struggling with this one. I'm going to have to bow to Ali here. Name the team then, Darryl.
Mr. McCoist is 2-1 up in the series. I shall run through the starting lineup and the players that came off the bench.
Mats Hummel. Did Mats Hummel not play at the back?
Nope. Was he not at Dortmund? Let me run you through the team in full.
Yeah, that was a good quiz. That went well, that one.
Lamb.
Yeah, well,
Lamb would have played.
Philip Lamb. Yeah.
Lamb, Boateng,
He
Dante,
just did that.
David Alaba, Javi Martinez, Schweinsteiger, Robin, Muller, Ribery, Mandzukic, and Luis Gustavo and Mario Gomez came off the bench. So that was highly disappointing from
Yeah, good quiz that.
2-1 McCoist.
I'm not sure.
Why didn't we do a German quiz in the Scottish Football Show? Idiot.
Well,
Honestly.
we've not done we've only done one Scottish question. Next, Chris, you don't know
Name
that
the
much
11
about Scottish
players who
football.
played for Werder Bremen in 1971. I mean, what on earth is that?
Don't you listen
Hang on,
to
I can imagine people really buying into this.
It's 2-1 McCoist, and we'll take a break. Stay where you are. Michael Stewart joins us next. We're up and running with part 2 of Scottish Football Extra. As you can see, Michael Stewart has joined the show. Michael will chat in just a moment, but first we're going to look back in the midweek round of fixtures with Stephen Craigan and Rory Hamilton, who will do anything to get a good day out paid for. And with these two, it's rarely plain sailing.
Right, come on, Stephen. I've got a surprise for you.
Rory, who doesn't love a surprise? What have we got?
Right, get this on your back, I'll show you. Let's go on an adventure. I'll tell you what. 2 weeks into the season. Enough controversy already.
Well, looking on the pitch, Rangers 9 points out of 9. Probably not a surprise. But it's the manner of the two victories I think that'll please Stephen Gerrard the most. You know, traditionally up against packed defences, even last year they struggled to break them down. So 2 3-0 victories. But then looking ahead to this weekend, Livingston away, where they had problems last year, that's going to be another test for his team.
Okay, then, what about Hibs?
Well, it's fair to say they underperformed last year, and it's been a really encouraging start for Jack. Front three all getting goals. A very good win against Dundee United during the week. And looking this weekend, an out-of-form Motherwell side coming to Easter Road, they'll feel they can get another 3 points.
All right, here we go.
So, the big reveal, what's in the bags?
This is a surprise.
Is it Chris and Ali?
Oh, come on, mate, they'd never fit in here.
You've said it, not me. What is this?
Hey, come on, you, get to work.
This had better be worth it. How's that? Nightmare.
Right, what chance do you think we'll get a swimmer today?
No way I'm fan of this.
Nicely done.
Shoot me in.
Easy.
I'm not moving anywhere though.
Right, it stables that Motherwell defence. Here we are, out on the water, Lochanelan in the Highlands, with a very nervous Stephen Craig.
Exactly, you're not wrong.
What about the start from the Highland side though, Ross County? 7 points from the first 3 games.
It's been a terrific start, hasn't it? You know, I look at last season, they conceded way too many goals. I think there's more of a resilience to their side this year. You know, they're carrying a threat. You know, even against Kilmarnock the other night, up against it at times, second half going behind, but they showed great character to get back in the game. Another home game against Dundee United at the weekend, so they'll be hoping to add more points.
Hey, good work. Made it to dry land. Last week you said it's all about the well. What have you made of the first 3 games?
Well, there's no doubt it's been a sluggish start. All eyes were always going to be on Motherwell because of what a good season they had last season. The challenge for the players is to try and replicate that. They haven't done it so far. Stephen's rattled a few cages this week to try and get a response, so it'll be interesting to see how they play this weekend. Doesn't get any easier. Hibs at Easter Road.
Is that a case of sink or swim?
Did that answer your question?
Crag's in the water in the end there. He's still doing his bit for Scottish Football Extra. Chris, once he knocked you in the water, so I'm sure you'll be happy to see it the other way around.
Yeah, great fun, Daryl.
Good. So you're delighted, aren't you? Because Michael's sure with us here. And Michael's had a real go at you this week. I mean, talking politics, Michael. Shocker.
Well, the shocker is Chris talking politics. That was an area that he never wanted to venture into.
Well, my tweet was actually, you don't keep up, Michael. My tweet was earlier on in the morning before the decision was made. The rumour was that she was going to shut down the whole of Scottish football. That was what the tweet was about. People like yourself cottoned on a little bit too late, but that wouldn't be the first time.
Maybe you should just learn to hunt your horses and wait and see what actually happens then, rather than trying to predict. You're not great at predicting.
The boys were talking about Motherwell at the end. You heard what Stephen Robinson had to say after the recent performance, which was that only about 7 of his players are turning up. Pretty strong words, Michael.
Yeah, it's, obviously it's not been a start that I think many would have expected from Motherwell at the moment. They look as if they were in a good shape in terms of their squad and personnel and the balance of the team as well. And, he wasn't particularly happy at the weekend either. I think he's trying desperately to get a reaction from his team and start the ball rolling, because I think they have the talent, the ability, and I think they will do well. But the difficulty is just getting themselves started, because Motherwell have form on this. Stuart McCall's last season in charge just fell away. They couldn't get started, and they found themselves in a bit of trouble. Having previously over a number of years been very, very solid, and it's a similar position just now where I think Stephen Robson's just trying to get that reaction out of the players to get the season off and running.
Has he gone early, coming out and criticising the players publicly? There's always a danger with that, isn't there?
There absolutely is. But what I would say is, and I don't know if you boys agree, I think, you know, he's a very astute manager, and clearly he's been at the club long enough to know the players and know how they would handle that particular bit of criticism. So I think he's probably. I don't think it's been a spur of the moment thing. But I was watching him in the dugout, and you boys were the same, and you could actually see his anger and frustration building up. And as I say, we can all understand it. You know, we've all been there when frustration takes over. So I don't think it's a spur of the moment. Our knee-jerk reaction to it, guys. I think he's probably thought about it and he's decided to give them a little bit, and I would imagine that he'll know better than anybody if they can take it or not.
Chris, what do you think about the most recent addition, though? A lot of the Motherwell fans very excited that Stephen O'Donnell has signed. Only until January for now, but still Scotland international.
Yeah, do you know what? I was actually a little bit surprised that he actually has gone to Motherwell with respect to Motherwell, because, you know, this is. I actually thought he'd get a move to a so-called bigger club without trying to upset Motherwell fans. So just taking me aback, but a good piece of business for Motherwell. Short term, but good.
Hibs, Michael, what a start they're off to. And different strikers scoring goals wherever they're going at the moment, like Livingston, big win at the weekend, then they did it again midweek.
Yeah, I think the way that they've won the games will be pleasing to Jack Ross as well. Obviously, the game during the week was a pretty dire game of football, let's be honest, but from Hibs' perspective, they come away from Tannadice with 3 points in a scrappy affair, whereas, you know, the game at home in the first match against Kilmarnock, they played well, but Kilmarnock dominated the ball for a good chunk as well. They came out on top. They obliterated Livingston away from home. They've won a scrappy game at Tannadice. They're well placed, Hibs. They're well placed. The only issue for me is I look at the centre of midfield, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago now, that they need to strengthen in the middle of the park. And if they do that, and obviously I think was it Steven Gerrard or Rangers came out and said that they're looking at or they're open to offers for Greg Docherty or McCrory as well. If they could get somebody like Greg Docherty back into that centre of the midfield, then I would suggest that Hibs are in a very good place to maintain that position at the top.
Ross McCrory seems more likely, Ali, to go to Hibs. Would that be a deal that you like from both clubs' perspective?
I'm a little bit surprised that I thought they might have potentially been out on loan again for another period to have another look at them, because I think they are, it's like anything else, I think they are these two players in particular, if and when they leave Rangers, I think they are the type of players that could come back and bite you if they go to another Scottish club, to tell you the truth. But sometimes you have to make decisions as a manager and stand by them. I would have thought both players, a lot of Rangers supporters, my sons included, are a little bit upset that they think Doherty deserves a better opportunity.
Where would he fit in? Whose place is he going to take?
Well, it's funny. I don't know whether you boys agree. I've watched Rangers 3 games this year. And the last 2 games have been fairly comfortable. I think without them been brilliant, to tell you the truth. I actually think they need a little. They could do
just a name.
You want me to pick a team? Well, I'm not picking a team right now.
Just
Steve Davis.
give us a name.
Well, it'd have to be somewhere in the middle of the park, wouldn't it? Maybe Jack's position. Still, work out for yourself, man. Work out for yourself. I'm looking at for example, I'm looking at the Rangers bench right now, right? And I think Docherty can sit in the Rangers bench, don't you? You want me axe somebody for the Rangers side? You want me axe?
It's a half-an-hour show.
What's the goal? And I've won the 3 games in the league. What kind of fan are you? The team haven't done anything.
Just give us a name.
I tell you what, Chris, why don't you get on the phone to that other big Rangers supporter, Nicola Sturgeon? She'll give you a name.
Right, well, we're all laughing here. Ali,
Darryl, before you get any further, if Nicola Sturgeon's a Rangers supporter, I'm jumping on the next flight to Spain with ball and golly, I'll tell you that.
Some of the lines this week. Right, Ali, you were mocked on this show last week because, particularly with the plastic pitches, I have to tell you, but you said Livingston Hibs game of the week, 5 goals, some away performance from Hibs. I mean,
Darryl, that's what you get from me. Sometimes one or two the lads will mock me, and you know, and they'll go behind my back and they'll laugh heartily behind my back. But sometimes I come up with the goods, and I just felt that particular game had the hallmark of an opportunity for Hibs to kick on. And do you know something? I'm going to give you another game of the week this week, and it's involving Hibs again. I think Hibs at home game to Motherwell this weekend will be one of the games of the weekend. That Hibs Motherwell, and of course Bayern Munich Barcelona tonight. Both those games will be up there.
I think we've had enough for this week. Boys, thank you very much. Enjoyed that. A few laughs along the way. We'll finish again. I think the fans, they can see us out. See you next week.
Of course,